maybe I'm not just a mind and a body to improve, but rather a soul to know.
Wow. Holy cow. That's so beautiful.
How did I go from broke health issues? My parents ended up disowning me to writing a book, Deepak Chopra writing the foreword of that book and creating this beautiful career where I get to be myself full time. And the shift was I really started to understand what my Dharma, what my purpose was.
And I've never cried on Instagram, but I wanted to show you this. I just got an email from Deepak Chopra and he wants me to meet him tomorrow to make content to help spread consciousness to the millennials. This has literally been the light at the end of my tunnel that has helped me persevere when nothing made sense. It hasn't always been easy. It's been a lot of hurt and obstacles and sacrifices, but moments like this make it all so worth it. I am a 26-year-old girl who has the hopes and dreams of making the world a better place. And if I can do it, you can do it. There is no difference between us.
The obstacles that you've overcome with the things that you're excited about, that is your Dharma, that is your soul's purpose. Stage one is just the awareness of, I have a purpose. Most people don't believe they have a purpose. Then stage two is self-improvement, but that's just stage two. Stage three is...
Wow. Okay, beautiful.
Just flow, surrender, let go. Yeah. Just flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. Just flow, surrender, let go. Just flow, surrender, let go. Just flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. Yeah.
Hi, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. If it's your first time listening, welcome. You are in for a treat because this is quite a different episode today. If you haven't noticed, I'm sitting here on my floor in Bali, where I am now living, and I decided last minute to actually offer you guys day one of my new Dharma Summit. So the word Dharma is your soul's purpose. It's the big reason why you are here, and it's what I've dedicated my life to. I wrote the best-selling book, Discover Your Dharma, with foreword by Deepak Chopra, have gone on my own journey of being disowned by my family, going through a divorce, so many dark nights of the soul that have led to my greatest glow up, greatest transformation, and living here in the jungle of Bali and so much more. And I decided to put it together in a free 5-day summit where I share my own journey, which you're going to hear about today, and also interview other spiritual teachers, healers, and astrologers about theirs. So this is my new free Dharma Summit. So if you love this conversation and you're ready to hear the rest of them after, you can join for absolutely free. In the show notes, the very first link, you'll be able to join the free Dharma Summit and learn more about becoming a certified Dharma coach. So here today on the podcast, you're going to hear about my journey. I was interviewed by prolific speaker Seano McFarland, who was connected to me by Michael Beckwith, Reverend Michael Beckwith from The Secret, and is a dear friend of Tony Robbins. And it was a huge honor to be interviewed on his podcast while I was here in Bali just a week ago. And I really wanted to share it with my own audience, because a lot of times you hear me interview other people, but you don't really know what has gone down behind the scenes for me to even be here at this space of my life where I'm able to share my wisdom and wholeheartedly know that the most challenging things of my life have led to my greatest up-levelings yet. So I get really vulnerable in this conversation. I share about my on my knees moments going through my divorce, my darkest time, and how it led to everything that I am today, from becoming an artist and so much more. So I hope this conversation inspires you and helps you see that whatever you are going through right now, it is shaping you to live your soul's purpose. So I hope you love this conversation, and be sure to sign up for the free Dharma Summit in the show notes so you can learn more from the other spiritual teachers. Now, without further ado, let's dive into it. Welcome to the Dharma Summit. My name is Sahara Rose. I am your host here at the summit, and I have really dedicated my life to first understanding my own soul's purpose and now helping other people live their own. And this is a really vulnerable conversation that I had very recently on a podcast, and I decided to make it day one of the summit so you could really hear my journey of what it has taken behind the scenes for me to get to where I am today. And I say get because it's a journey of constant evolution. And I really bear it all in this conversation. I share things I have never shared before. So even if you might know my journey, you're really going to get an inside look, especially on my divorce and the way that going through infidelity in my then marriage just over 2 years ago rocked my world, but led to me now living my dream life in Bali, where I've always wanted to live, becoming an artist, speaking on stages, creating my festival, and so much more. So I know a lot of us right now are in really big relational shifts. Maybe you've had a heartbreak, divorce, breakup, a big shift in your marriage. Maybe it's just a new season in a long-term relationship. And I feel that nothing rocks our world quite like heartbreak and matters of the heart do. So I really share my own in this conversation. I feel it is really a sister science of your Dharma, because we can only step into our highest form of expression when we are in our highest form of authenticity. And it's often or always in our relationships that these things are played out. And I remember for so long hearing that you either learn your lessons through love or through your career. And, I was married in a stable relationship for almost 8 years. So I was like, okay, I guess my love life is, that's settled. It's my career that's teaching me all the things. And it's interesting because then Spirit was like, time for your new curriculum, girl. And then everything got shifted into matters of the heart. And I see now why when we are in relationships that are not in alignment, it prevents us from living our soul's purpose, because all of our time and energy and focus goes into this like never ending black hole that can really tear you down and eat away at your self-worth. And, I do believe everything is a gift. So whatever you have overcome in relationship, it's something that you are meant to really extract and take upon and share the wisdom and nuggets that you've gained from it and integrate it into your Dharma, into your soul's purpose. So here I am sharing how overcoming betrayal, how stepping into the unknown, how really feeling like I was living my biggest nightmare. And, and this was after, 10 years of teaching about spirituality and writing 4 books and, hosting the #1 spirituality podcast, Highest Self. This is after all these things, right? Having done so much healing, and then poof, something like this rocks your world. And that's when you're brought to your knees and you really learn to pray. And I knew that this was my opportunity to take everything I've learned about healing and put it into practice with myself, and led to me diving deeper into healing in a way that I would have never before. Led to the Triple E method that I now certify people in at Highest Self Institute, led to me really just understanding the true meaning of Dharma, which was my saving grace. In the times that I was so overwhelmed and scared and anxious, it was like my North Star that just brought me back to center and into something that was greater than me in the situation that I was in my life. It allowed me to just kind of put everything on the cabinet shelf, be of service, cry my tears and come back and realize that this is all part of something greater. And even when I was so deep in it, I knew that this will all be worth it for the one day that I'm able to share about this. So I'm so excited and emotional, thinking that now that day has come and I'm able to share about this. So I'm honored to have you here. Seano McFarland, who's an incredible podcast host, besties with Michael Beckwith, who connected us. I was on Michael Beckwith's podcast, the guy with the dreads and The Secret, spiritual OG. I was on his podcast, and I think Seano listened to the podcast and he invited me on his, and I just did it a week ago. And I was like, I need to put this in the summit. So you're about to listen to that conversation. He's also very good friends with Tony Robbins and so many incredible people, but you also get to hear about his journey and the things that he's overcome, like really dark, grave things. And I was able to do the Dharma Blueprint on him. So you're actually able to see the Dharma Discovery Method tools that you'll be learning in the Dharma Coaching Institute program in practice. And me on a podcast, being able to, he said after, he's like, no one's ever seen me that way. And these are the tools that you learn at Dharma Coaching Institute. These are the tools that we hand you so you can take and create careers with them. So you can have people say, wow, you saw me in a way that no one's ever seen me before. And the ripple effect that has of other people remembering who they are and shining their authentic light and sharing their gifts and being of service to humanity. And that is naturally how we create the solutions for all of the world's problems, from people living their highest form of joy and integrating it with their highest form of service. So you're going to see me using these tools on Seano, and I'll bring it back together at the end of this. So there's video as well wherever you are, and I'm so excited for you to dive in. All right, let's get into it. And before we drop into this episode, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. That is the best way to stay up to date on the latest episodes. We've got this in video format, so if you're just hearing my voice, be sure to also watch our fabulous outfits on video as well on Spotify, YouTube, or the Apple Store. This is the best way to stay in the flow with future conversations and also allows the podcast to reach more people. So hit subscribe so I can keep vibing with you on all future episodes. Now let's get into this one.
Welcome back to the Seano Show. I'm your host, Sean McFarland, and today, we're diving deep into the world of purpose, Dharma, and radical self-expression with a guest who's been guiding thousands towards their highest potential. She's a best-selling author. She's an artist, the host of the Highest Self podcast, and a modern voice of ancient wisdom. You've seen her work endorsed by Deepak Chopra himself, and she's helped countless people discover their true life's calling. It's my honor to welcome the one and only Sahara Rose to the show.
Thank you so much, Seano. I'm so excited to be here and with your audience today from Mama Bali. If anyone has been here, it's just such a beautiful place. So I'm bringing in the Bali frequency.
Let's bring in the frequency because you channel a high frequency. There's no doubt about it. So I have so many things to talk about with you. I mean, do we start with when you got the calling? Do we start with the health scare? Do you want to give us a little backstory? What are you feeling right now?
Well, I feel all of our journeys, the only reason why any of us would go into healing is because we first needed it ourselves. So my journey began when I was in my early 20s. I first went on this health journey, which brought me to veganism and plant-based eating. And eventually I became a raw vegan. But over time after doing this, my health really started to deteriorate. And on top of that, I was having a really hard time with my family. I wasn't sure what my purpose was. I went through a really hard breakup, and all of this at the same time manifested as what we call dis-ease, when we're out of balance with our body. When I didn't get my period for over 2 years, and doctors told me I had gone through perimenopause when I was 21 years old. So I would never be able to have children, get osteoporosis very young, and have to be on hormone replacement therapy. They prescribed me antidepressants and said that this is just how you'll have to live. And just something deeper within me intuitively knew there had to be a greater cause for this imbalance, but I didn't know what it was. So I just became obsessed with healing, which brought me to Ayurveda, the sister science of yoga based on the mind-body connection. And I took a quiz, which is a dosha quiz. It's a mind-body type quiz. And once I understood mine, which was the air type, it was like learning everything about myself, my personality, air people, you're creative, big picture thinking, free flowing, you love to travel, you love to talk about philosophy, but in your body, you may have dry skin, dry hair, bloating, gas, constipation, low hormones. And for the first time, I felt understood mind, body, and spirit under one umbrella. And so I just became obsessed with learning everything about it. I moved to India. I studied Ayurveda for 2 years, became an Ayurvedic practitioner, healed my body, regained my period, regained vitality. But most importantly, all of a sudden, all these ideas I had, I could take action on it. I had more of that fire, that energy to bring to life my vision. And that's when I decided I would write a book on Ayurveda, which I had never met an author before. I knew nothing about the process.
So what are you, 23 at this point?
I was 23 at this point and deciding I'm going to write this Ayurveda book. And my parents were like, you're crazy. You need to get a normal job. And I came here to Bali, actually. And it was my first time seeing people being spiritual life coaches and astrologers and, intuitives and these things. I had never seen anyone actually create careers doing this kind of thing. And it gave me that feedback to know that there is a path where you can merge together your highest form of joy with your highest form of service. And so I just became obsessed with trying to figure out what was my purpose. But now, flash forward 11 years, and what I teach is that the obstacles that you've overcome with the things that you're excited about, the mediums that come through you, your archetypes. If we merge these all together, that is your dharma, that is your soul's purpose. So just to give you a little bit of what happened next, took me 2 years to write that first book. I pitched it to all these publishers. I was rejected by all 30 of them. And they said the same thing my parents said. No one cares. You're not a doctor. You're not old enough. This is never going to happen. But I just knew that I went through these issues for a greater reason, and that this wasn't the end. It was just another door in to figure it out. And so eventually I submitted to get hired to write The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which is part of the Idiot's Guide series. Wrote that book, put my all into it. And right before it got published, I was at a conference that Deepak Chopra happened to be at, walked up to him through a crowd, which is a whole story we can get into, and ended up sending him my book. And he became, a few days later, he read the book and was really blown away and asked me to be on faculty of Chopra. And so I share this and we can dissect any part of it, but how did I go from broke, health issues, overwhelmed, confused? My parents ended up disowning me, like really in the muck, to writing a book, Deepak Chopra writing the foreword of that book. And then eventually, writing several more and creating this beautiful career where I get to be myself full time. And the shift was, I really started to understand what my dharma, what my purpose was.
Ooh, I love it. So let's talk about this, because you exemplify this beautifully. 30 rejections, okay? The art of learning how to love the no's and not personalize the no, and the relentless spirit. Can you talk about your kind of commitment to that and what your energy is about with that?
I feel sometimes the universe says no to what we feel is the shortest version to get somewhere because we're not ready. I can see now that version of the book I had written was not the version that was meant to go out into the world. That was the version for me to write, for me to prove to myself that I can write a book, for me to clear my thoughts and get succinct. And also part of why I was hired to then write Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda was I had written a book before. It wasn't published, but I had written it. So I could prove that I can bring something to completion. But then I needed to go through, my spiritual PhD program to go even deeper into it to write that. And when I say spiritual PhD, I mean source, God consciousness, whatever you want to call it, will sometimes bring us deeper obstacles to further embody our dharma. Because we have, when I say dharma, just think the word soul purpose, the big reason why you're here. And it's not what you do so much, but it's how you do it. It's your unique essence. It's your magic sauce. It's the way that you articulate, the way that you see the world, the way that thoughts, ideas, consciousness channels through the unique vessel that you are, which is irreplaceable. And when you are living your dharma, you are plugged into universal source energy that is streaming through you. And so you are being guided in ways that you would have never been able to figure out on your own in your logical mind. And I feel like what happens is the world comes alive and you realize you're in this conversation with the universe and you're like, show me how to be of service. And it puts the right person in front of you. And you're like, what do I share about next? And the song lyrics tell you exactly what to do. And it's like everything comes alive and you realize, I'm like, was it always like this before? Or was I just not paying attention? And I feel when we're not paying attention, the universal signs get a little bit more quiet because they're like, okay, they're not listening when they're ready. And then sometimes life puts us in these dark nights of the soul, these on your knees moments, these obstacles where you have no choice but to come to your knees. And when you come to your knees, quiet enough to surrender and listen to the guidance that was always there to support you, but it needed to get you to that point for you to finally listen. And so you needed the breakdown specifically that your soul needed to break your heart wide open. And I find that different aspects of our dharma will have different initiations. So my health issues became my health dharma. Then my family issues and not knowing my purpose became my dharma around really understanding who I am and healing and being my own person and stepping into my authenticity. Flash forward 10 years from there, being cheated on in my marriage and going through a divorce. That led to Well, other initiation of my Dharma around self-love and understanding relationships on a deeper level. And so I find that our souls chose a curriculum. And that curriculum is like the perfect study plan for you to embody your soul's purpose. So you were born knowing your purpose. You've known since you were a child. If you get really quiet, you already know what it is. It's how you actually were. It's, like I'm curious for you, Seano, like what were you like as a kid? What were you interested in?
I was like a little young Ferris Bueller. I was just curious and wonderment, and everything seemed possible. Yeah. And then it became dark.
How does that manifest into your Dharma today?
We're doing the show right now. We're doing the show. You and I are kind of in the same business. We get paid and help people crack hearts and let light in. And I love my job. And I like you. I put in 70 hours a week, and I could probably do 90. It is just endless. That's my spirit. That's what I'm here on the planet to do.
Did you ever go through a journey of forgetting or losing yourself and forgetting that this is who you truly are?
I've almost died. I've been shot at. I tapped out. Of course it has to get really dark. Really. It wasn't just like, hey, one day I've got this great place in Venice and I get to do a podcast with Sahara. Isn't this just grand? No, you got to go through the divorce. You got to get through the betrayals. You got to go through the cheating. You got to go through being broke. You got to get to where the world's just so fucking loud, you don't know what to do.
Do you feel now, looking back on it, that it all made sense to support your Dharma and how you express in the world today?
Yes, absolutely. All part of the path.
So I'm curious for you, again, someone who's in the muck right now, who's like, well, I can't live my purpose because I don't have the money to, I don't have the time to, I'm going through a divorce, I'm going through this health challenge. What would you say to them?
Yeah, someone who's struggling and just really doesn't have any hope. Yeah. Well, my challenge is to help them shift channels and see where that negativity is really, and give them small little goals, small little steps. And then sometimes you can kill people with love. And then sometimes you got to say to this is me, you asked me, I got to tell you, I'm a little bored with your sad story. You're committed to darkness. You're committed to being a Debbie Downer. You're committed to this. You're a personality. You've taken on this thing. It's not true. It's not real. Do you want a better life? What is your sick and tired of being sick and tired? I can give you the map. Here's the map. Do you want to follow it?
So I'm asking you these questions to get to know your Dharma archetype in a greater way. And I can see here that you have a strong warrior energy to you. That is a big part of your Dharma. So there's 9 Dharma archetypes. I write about them in my book, Discover Your Dharma. But I'm going to break down yours because your audience knows you, and we're going to put together your blueprint right now because they know you and they can resonate, and then that allows them to see the patterns within themselves. So the warrior archetype is here to protect, lead, empower, help people go towards goals. They have this strong sense of camaraderie. They bring community together, and they help you realize that we're stronger as a team and that you can overcome whatever limiting beliefs that you have in your mind, and really are an example of strength. So Tony Robbins, similar to you, has that warrior energy that literally he has you walk on hot coals and shows you that you are beyond what you feel the threshold of your body is. And, when Tony Robbins comes on stage, and I imagine your energy is like that, he brings people up and gets them in their body and gets them moving and clapping. And all of a sudden you feel in this higher energetic state that when your body is in that vibration, you can't cognitively go into, I don't know, I'm too tired, I'm not good enough, because your body is fueling with life force energy. And that's what the warrior does. Warriors are also, I'm going to assume you are very athletic. You're into fitness. They're very attuned to their bodies. So a lot of people who go into like being personal trainers, et cetera, have that warrior energy. If you think about a personal trainer, they're helping you keep track of goals. Warriors are very analytical as well. If something is intangible, they have a hard time grasping it. They're like, okay, let's focus our energy towards this thing so we can make sure we get there. So they have a very strong masculine energy to them and can really create like systems around things that people want to do. So when they come into the group, everyone's like, we should do this. They're like, okay, here's point A to point B to point C. You chose that vessel, that avatar to express as a warrior because that would be the archetype that would be the most supportive of your Dharma. Your soul chose that. Now, you also are a visionary. The visionary is here to inspire people. They're here to bring people to a higher level perspective. Their gift is their charisma. You chose to be born with the gift of communication, the gift of storytelling, the gift of being animated when you speak. Visionaries tend to be good-looking people as well. Barack Obama has this energy because whatever you think about politics, we can all agree he was an incredible speaker. He really caused people to rise up. And, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. What a concept. And so that's the gift of the visionary. It's through their words, through their channeling, they cause people to see things from a higher level of perspective that they wouldn't have seen before. I feel you also have a teacher energy in you. And the teacher energy now can break things down. Like, okay, you want to talk about this? Let's break it down a little bit. Let me teach you how. So they're guides, they're here to impart knowledge. And teachers, the reason why I feel you have this is their souls will go through life to learn the lesson that they're meant to teach. So their life will be kind of a series of different, obstacle, overcome obstacle, teach the obstacle. Once I feel like I've taught it to the level that I need to, life presents me with the next one. They keep moving like that. And so when you're a teacher and then you go through your next obstacle, you start to kind of know, well, this isn't really just for me. I'm actually supposed to be put into this very real human experience, but with the consciousness that I have, so I can now reverse engineer it and help other people going through it. So it's this, I'm going through this and it's definitely me going through it, but I also kind of know I'm here to teach other people about it. So let me write down my notes of what I'm figuring out because I know I'm going to eventually be teaching other people. Have you ever felt that before?
1,000%. You nailed everything.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you nailed. Well, it's funny because Tony and I are brothers and we're in spiritual partnership. We work with people together and I just love that man dearly. So we're on the same team.
I love that. And also if we bring in Ayurveda, it's the shape of the face. We can actually see someone's archetype through the shape of your face. You have a long face, strong jaw. These are all qualities of fire energy, which is what the warrior has. Now, so we're putting together your Dharma Blueprint right now. So the Dharma Blueprint is the blueprint of what to focus your energy on. So now we know your archetypes: warrior, visionary, teacher. Now the next is your medium. What are the mediums that come through you? So I'm curious for you, Seano, do you feel it's speaking? And if it's speaking, what kind of speaking? Is it writing? Is it one-on-one conversations? How do you feel you can communicate and come most alive?
Great question. Yeah, you asked me it's speaking, Sahara, but it's also, I think my gift is my empathy and my ability to listen and make people feel trust. I hear them. They know they're being loved and cared for. And I ask them the questions that no one's asked them before. So I have the audacity to ask certain things. That's my gift, I think.
So that's telling us that you also have a strong nurture energy to you. The nurturer is here, their gift is their empathy. They are able to ask people questions they've never been asked before and sit and hold space, and through creating safety in their body, help people go deeper into their truth. So as a nurturer, and for people listening to this, you are the person that people will gravitate to at a party and be like, this is what's really going on. And then after they're like, wow, I've never shared that with anyone. And I just met you. I don't know what just happened.
Oh my God.
They're attuning to the safety in your nervous system that they can actually feel this is a safe space for me to unload. Because sometimes when we're nurturers, we think everyone must do that to everyone, but it's not true. Not we don't go our deepest problems to every person at the party. Not at all. It's very rare for that to happen. But when you're a nurturer and that keeps happening, you kind of create this skewed view that just must be what life is, but it's not. It's just you. So if you are a nurturer, you have the gift of the healer. You have the gift of the coach, the intuitive. So I love to see when warrior and nurturer are together because they're juxtaposing archetypes often, because warriors if you were in pure only warrior energy, it's kind of like what you said. It's I don't need the sob story. Let's keep things moving. What's your goal? But then the nurturer is tell me all the details, And so
Right.
you have both. And I actually think that that's helpful. It's like the masculine, feminine, the yin and the yang of like, okay, I'll really listen to your story and be there for you. But at a certain level, if I feel like you're repeating yourself again and again and again, I'm going to push you towards what you really want. Does that resonate?
Well, I thought you're right on. You're right on. Yep.
So yeah, I'm
Okay, wait.
doing
What's your blueprint? What's your
we'll
blueprint?
go through yours and then I'll tell you mine.
Okay, all right.
There's the
all right.
nurture asking me
Great.
questions, huh?
Yeah, well, I know, exactly.
All right. So the next thing is obstacles you've overcome. So what are some big obstacles that you have overcome that you feel really inform your Dharma?
Well, let's start with, being kidnapped and used for child pornography and being tortured. That was a pretty good one. A life of being a drug smuggler. I got over that one. Life of crime and, life of drug addiction. Alcoholism. That's been 38 years. Those are a couple. And just how about the one of just that I'm not enough and I'm not smart and I can't do anything. And I've created something magical, my practice here, and people come to live here and the show and being around extraordinary people like you. I've overcome those things and brought that into my, my life and my community and my vision.
So would you say the biggest theme that you've experienced throughout these obstacles is realizing your enoughness?
Yes. Yeah. God got it right from the gate. I just didn't know that. Yeah. Right.
All right. So what do people compliment you on? What do they say? Like, oh, you're so great with this. It comes so naturally to you. What are the kind of compliments you receive?
My energy, my fierce energy, my commitment to doing whatever it takes to help people be kind and loving to themselves and get the negativity out of there and understand their mission statement and their map and their purpose and really helping them. I'm really like God's middleman. I'm just trying to connect to some truth and to, some higher help. That's really what I do.
I love that.
My ability to love people. I love people at a very high frequency till they can love themselves.
What are you excited about? Like, what are the things that you're, Google searching, podcasts you're listening to, things that you're like, oh, I just could do this forever. What are the things that bring up that energy for you?
Well, I'm, first off, I'm always a student. I always consider myself a newcomer. I have, I always want to better myself. So, probably you and I are listening to the same people. I mean, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm reading books. I'm looking at quotes. I'm constantly searching for things. I'm big into art. I'm big into athletics. I go to events. I love opera. I'm music, plays. Just so curious about, anybody, the Viktor Frankls of the world. That's my get down. People that have gone through really difficult times, but they're in a different place now. Transformation. Healers, that have gone through it. People that have had just extraordinary adversity and they're on the other side of it and that generally smile and have a good time with life.
Are there any topics that you are excited about, you're reading about, but you're not sharing about yet?
Ask me that question one more time.
Are there any topics that you're personally studying for yourself, but you're not necessarily speaking about yet?
Well, yeah, yes. I'm studying and curious and talking to some great minds around the world about psychedelics helping people with severe addiction. People that have severe trauma, severe PTSD, how these things might be able to help them.
Great. So we've just put together the map of your consciousness, the Dharma Blueprint. So the Dharma Blueprint has 5 categories. And when you put these 5 categories together, and I've been writing them down, I'll send it to you after as well. People have insane experiences when they even just see it, because it's like seeing the blueprint of your soul written down and all these different pieces of the puzzle that you're like, oh yeah, I'm this and I'm also that, I'm also that, and like realizing that they're all interconnected. So for you, the first part is the Dharma archetype. You're the warrior, the visionary, the teacher, and the nurturer. So you're a combination of these different archetypes. You have the fire, you have the vision, but you also have that deep desire to pass it along to like one-to-one with people. You don't lose touch of like keeping your feet on the ground. Because when you keep your feet on the ground and you connect one-on-one with people, it actually informs the greater message that you share. So it's like your soul knows that little like one-on-one conversation may give you a glimpse of understanding of what the collective is now going through, which is why everywhere you go, you want to talk to the person behind the cashier. You want to have a conversation with, that person going by, because it's like building your field of awareness. And now you're seeing patterns. And then those patterns you take as the visionary. And then as the visionary, you speak, but you bring that fire of like, hey, let's not just get caught in the message. Let's take it to action. And so that is really the combination of your Dharma archetypes. Now, the medium that comes through you is your connection with people. You are, like you said, God's middleman. You are here to be that like glue that brings things to the people. You're not, for example, some of the archetypes are researcher. They're here to like research and write books and be in academia, more of like, Joe Dispenza has some visionary, but it's very much researcher. Deepak Chopra, researcher, right? That's not what your archetype is. Your archetype is very much like for the people, connecting to the people, putting it in layman's terms. Now, obstacles you overcome, obviously some big ones you mentioned: kidnapping, drug smuggling, crime, addiction. But the theme is really overcoming the impossible. These are things that stop people in their tracks, and almost so extreme that your soul chose them to almost be like a pinnacle of, well, actually, I was able to overcome the impossible, right? Things that could cause people to take their life, things that we can't even fathom. And your soul almost chose the most extreme path of these obstacles. So then you can be the vessel of, yeah, we can overcome anything. This is just a little bit of what I've overcome. And it just stops people in their track of whatever their story is, because it's like, wow, if Seano was able to overcome a series of really big things, then maybe, my breakup or whatever the thing is that feels so big is in the grand scheme of life, not so big. And that's quite humbling. You almost, the comparison of you humbles people. And you've chosen that level of bigness. I imagine like the genie energy, right? Because then you're almost like, oh yeah, I also got kidnapped. It's like, what? But a playfulness in how you say it, because that's like integration. When someone's integrated, they can laugh and be in joy while talking about the hardest and darkest things. That's how we know we've really come to the other side of it. So the theme that you mentioned is not enoughness, not taking the story of, because I had addiction, I'm not enough. Because I experienced trauma, I'm not enough. And really helping people understand that no matter what happened to you in your past, you have everything that you need to fulfill your wildest dreams, and dreams that you haven't even dreamed of yet. Now, your power is your energy, your commitment to connecting with people, to, again, being God's middleman, connecting people to their truth. It's this relentlessness in you, this resilience in you, this ability to continue to pick yourself back up. And I'm curious what your human design is. Do you know your human design?
No idea.
I feel you're likely a generator, manifesting generator. We can look it up later. It's a system that tells us how energy moves in your body, but you definitely have a strong like root and sacral energy. And that's why it's like life flicks you off the edge and you just like soar back up with the new superpower. And that's what you're here to do, and help people find within themselves. And now your excitement helps us see where your soul is heading. So you're heading into deeper levels of helping people overcome adversity and transform their lives. And there's obviously a curiosity of psychedelics. So this gives us the map, because the things that become our Dharma a few years from now are the things that we're Google searching today, because that's the thing that we're learning for ourselves. And if you look at the things you were Google searching a couple of years ago, you're probably embodying them today, right? So we can see where your soul is heading and what the curiosity is, and you fully learning it for yourself, you creating that roadmap for yourself, and then you testing your theory on, the people around you, the people in your community, and then that creating the next movement and medium and expression. So if we bring these all together, we can see that you are a deeply kind and connected person who has overcome relentless obstacles, yet through your energy and through your commitment to God have really become a avatar to show people that they can overcome the toughest adversities and do it with joy and empathy.
Amen.
Have you ever wondered how certain people are able to create these incredible spiritually aligned careers where they are sharing their full expression, making tremendous impact to the world, creating massive levels of abundance, have teams that support them, and getting to be authentically themselves? Well, I've created the Dharma Summit to interview 5 incredible spiritual teachers and thought leaders to really break down their journey towards their soul purpose and reverse engineer it with my Dharma discovery method. So you can see the patterns in all of their journeys and get to know where you are in your own. Because what I have discovered is it might seem random and like the obstacles that we're facing right now are things that no one else has experienced before. And while they are unique to your journey, there is a greater intelligence to the journey of our soul's purpose, which is what I really break down in the Dharma Summit. So you're going to get to know 5 different people's journeys. I'm talking world-renowned spiritual teachers, astrologers, healers, entrepreneurs, and my own, and be able to see step by step how they were able to overcome certain shifts, the timelines of their stories, and then see within your own journey where you are and what happens next. So this is an absolutely free summit called the Dharma Summit that is open and available for registration right now. So just head over to the show notes. You'll find the link right there to get started. I am so excited to share this wisdom and magic with you.
Amen. Okay, that was beautiful. Look at that. That was wow. That was a real. Thank you for that. I mean, that was really something. So, is that your coaching technique when your clients come in? Is this the process you go through? Talk about your process. I mean, you kind of did it with me, but wait, let me back up a little bit. After the book's out, so how old are you now after the book is out?
The first book came out when I was 26, and then I've written 4 books since then. Now I'm 34.
Yes. You.
Yeah.
And what did you do work-wise? How did you, from the book, how did you move into your coaching, can you walk us through that journey and your process?
Sure. So I was a health coach when I started and moved into coaching my Ayurveda. So I was one-on-one coaching for 7 years. And I feel that one-on-one coaching is really the best way for those of us who are interested in this type of thing to really get our feet dirty, to understand people. Similarly to you, I gained my concepts through having conversations with people. So through working with so many people, I started to notice the patterns. Through noticing the patterns, I started to group coach. From group coaching, I created an online course. Through online course, I started my podcast. Through starting my podcast, I eventually started a membership community. Through starting the membership community, eventually I created my coaching methodology. So this method that you saw, the Dharma Blueprint, it's one of the many methods that we have. And the way they came to be was when I was writing my book, Discover Your Dharma, which was me really trying to understand how did I go from, again, broke, confused, overwhelmed, disowned to living my purpose, Deepak Chopra, entirely shifted timeline. And so I started to be like, what was I Google searching? What was I thinking about? What archetypes were coming through me, and started to really channel these different systems that are tried and true. And now I know through doing them with thousands of people, they really work with anyone. I was even, dared to have a sign on the streets of Boston of, I will help you find your life purpose in 3 hours. And just with a random person from the street, use the method on them. She ended up creating a photo gallery about helping women overcome postpartum depression. So it's
oh, I love that.
We already know what our purpose is. It's just sometimes we need a map. We need someone to even just hold the space, because most of us, we've never thought about our purpose for maybe more than a fleeting thought, or the guidance counselor in high school that's like, oh, you like to talk? Maybe be a lawyer. It's I don't think that this is what lawyers do, But it allowed me to then create these tried and true systems that became Dharma Coaching Institute. And now the Dharma Coaching Institute is one of 4 certifications I have in my school, Highest Self Institute. And it's been amazing. We've graduated over 3,000 students, and they have gone on to create full-time careers as Dharma coaches, the first ever Dharma coaches. And it's a really beautiful integration if someone's also a yoga teacher or a breathwork teacher, meditation, or health coach, but wants to go deeper, because that's what was frustrating to me as a health coach was I think that eating a bunch of chips in the middle of the night is not good for you, but why does that keep happening? And the reason why are these deeper issues in our soul that I feel we don't feel equipped to engage in because we're like afraid of what might come up. So having these systems and tools gives us sort of this like roadmap that we can go in with and trust that this person is going to have an experience. And, that's just the Dharma Blueprint. What I would bring you through next is where are you in the 5 stages of Dharma development, which I already know yours is on stage 5, where you're at in the Dharma journey spiral. So that tells us the emotions that people go through and what emotions often follow because, for example, as you've known, sometimes it gets darker before it gets lighter. And people often think, my life was great before, and then I went into this whole spiritual awakening thing, and, now it's even tougher. Did I regress? And it's actually this process that happens when you start to become awake that friends that are not in alignment with you fall away. Relationships that are not in alignment for you. That job that you were actually complaining about the whole time, you get fired from it. You're like, what? But it's actually God telling you, oh, you're ready for it. And the more conscious you become, I don't know if you've noticed this, you can't lie to yourself even for a freaking millisecond anymore. It's like you have a awareness of something, that something's not in alignment, this relationship, this job, this friendship. You don't have 3 months to dilly-dally and wait for the perfect time anymore. It will just break down instantly. And at the beginning, you're like, oh my God, my life is so much more extreme now. But it's actually because your soul wants to be on the highest timeline. So it's just not going to waste time on things that are going to prevent you from getting there. I really believe our souls have an ultimate timeline, which is us living our full expression, us living our Dharma, which is we were born it. Like we were born exactly who we were meant to be. It's just that we forget. We were born on the highway and our Dharma's at the end of the highway. And we were born on cruise control, with the gifts, with the curiosity, who we're meant to be. But then life has all these exits, right? You'll make more money doing this. Well, everyone from your town does that. Who do you think you are to do this? Well, it's too late for you to do that. And we get off these exits and then the universe responds. Tap, tap, tap. Something's off. You feel anxious. You can feel in your body, this isn't meant for you. But most of us, we don't listen because we see everyone else around us is living this way. So then the universe says, not listening. Okay, I'll get a little louder for you. Knock, knock, knock. Breakdown, panic attack, something bigger going on. Some of us listen, but most of us just drink more coffee, take more Adderall, smoke more weed, whatever the thing is, keep going that way. And then the universe is like, okay, I really need to shake things up then. Collision, on your knees moment, breakdown, dark night of the soul, something that is so extreme to wake you up. And Eckhart Tolle, he had to hit like almost taking his life for him to wake up, for all of us exactly the level that we need to create that U-turn. So that resistance that we face is actually supportive. This is what we call karma. A lot of people think karma is what goes around, comes around, but actually the most ancient term of it is karma is the bounded action by the universe to keep you in alignment with your Dharma, your soul's purpose. It's barricades at the side of the highway saying, hey, don't go. At first you go off the side of the highway, your tires a little bit. It's like, no, this isn't the direction for you. But most of us are like, oh, this is so annoying. Why is it shaking my car? It's like, I'm trying to shake you to wake you up. And then we go off. No, barricades, do not go into the bush here. We still go off. It's like, okay, you're going to need to free fall for a little bit, but I'm going to make sure you're okay. But you got to get yourself back up. And maybe the getting yourself back up is going to require healing every bone in your body because that's what you needed to really learn how to walk.
Amen. Right on. Oh,
finally, then when we start to go towards the direction of our Dharma, we start to listen to our truth. We start to be in conversation with the universe. We start to realize we were never the ones driving this car. That we are taken on a journey and that life is moving through us. Those words are moving through us. I don't know what I'm going to say next. You don't know what's going to happen next. We're on the ride, and that's how life is meant to live. We're actually just here to surrender and be vessels for how life is meant to be manifested through our incarnation. And so when we sit back and we take that passenger seat and let the universe take the ride, then all of a sudden we meet the right people at the right time that says the right thing, that brings us to the right moment, that we listen to the podcast that says the exact thing that we need. And we pull over the side of the car. We're like, wait, are they speaking to me right now? And that's how you know you're on track. And that feeling of flow is called Kriya. It is boundless action by the universe to propel you in alignment with your Dharma. Because the universe wants you to be living your Dharma. In fact, what a genius design. Because if it feels good for you to be living your Dharma, you're going to do it all the time. It doesn't need to force you. You know, what a genius design to make you love doing that. I love being here sharing with you. I'm having so much fun. I could do it for hours. It's helping people too. How freaking cool is that? But if I was like, oh God, this is really tough. I hope he doesn't ask me another question. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to be of service. So the universe designed you to love to do your Dharma because it's sustainable, but actually it's almost like using us as bridges to raise planetary consciousness. Because if we're all doing the thing that brings us the highest joy and it's of highest service, we're creating solutions for all of the world's problems. Because there's someone who's daydreaming right now about how to clean the oceans, and there's someone who's visualizing right now how to make better school systems, and there's someone who's visualizing right now how to clean up the plastic from our dams, and there's someone that's naturally excited, naturally designed, naturally in the preparation of that thing. So you actually don't need to force yourself to be someone else. You don't actually need to force yourself to like really go into this thing that you don't want to do. It's quite the opposite of how our school system taught us of like, you hate math, buckle down on math. No, if you hate math, you're not designed to be a mathematician, because there's people who love that. Yeah. That's easy for them. And there's people who love to speak, and that's easy for them. So the cool thing is your Dharma is the path of least resistance. It feels easy. It feels flow. It's that Kriya. But to get to the path of least resistance, you first must go through the path that you are personally the most resistant to. And the further along you have moved away from your Dharma, the more resistance it will be. But I see it as your Dharma is out in open waters. You know, when you go past the break, it's like open, flat waters in the ocean. And that's your Dharma. It's like you can see the horizon, you can see everything, you can lie on your back, see the stars. But you got to go through some gnarly ass waves first to get there. That's the preparation. That's the embodiment. That's what teaches you to become a stronger swimmer and gain tools and gain resilience. But most people, they're in the sand with everyone they know from their hometown. They go out into the ocean once, knocks them back to shore. They tried twice, knocks them back to shore. They say, you know what? I don't even think these open waters exist. I don't think there's a path of least resistance. I think it's just for special people like Seano, like Sahara, like Michael Beckwith, the special ones that, I don't know, they were born with this thing that I wasn't. Us mere mortals, we just got to stay here in the sand and do things that we hate to make money because that's what everyone around me is doing. But if they just kept going into the waves and realized the waves were their training protocol, and even when they're knocked back, it's like, okay, how do I get a surfboard? Oh, how do I learn to hold my breath? Oh, how do I learn how to duck and maneuver? How do I become stronger at the flow of life? And then before they know it, they find themselves out in these open waters. And they're like, oh, this is the path of least resistance that people were talking about. Now I get it. I can see everything. Life is meant to feel good every single day. You know, you were texting me, you're like, I'm seeing dolphins right now. I'm like, I'm seeing monkeys right now. Life can be this way. But to get to the path of least resistance, you first must follow the path that you are personally the most resistant to.
Okay, wow. Okay. When you started the book and starting your practice, what was the biggest obstacle you were up to? What was the loudest voice in your head back then? What did you have to really,
I would say no one cares was a big one. No one's going to read this book and you're not going to make money doing this. And once the book comes out, and I was ready, like I was studying for a real estate exam. Like, okay, once this book comes out, I'll probably just have to like go become a real estate agent because maybe this is like my passion thing that I do. And I, you know, check that off. I wrote a book, guys, and now I'm here to sell Santa Monica Boulevard.
There's a great kitchen here. I think you'll love. There's a school district here. Your kids will love. How old is he, Tim? Oh, yeah. I could never see.
Because Again,
Yeah.
I had never really seen anyone in my family specifically. Like, they came from Iran. My mom was a refugee who fled the war. My dad, an immigrant. No woman in my family's ever worked. I did not have a model for this at all. So I thought maybe and that's the funny thing is like our Dharma will take us how far that we push it. So I see a lot of people, they'll take it on as a hobby. And that's a great, when we go through the 5 stages of Dharma, taking on as a hobby is the beginning, because you got to love doing it. You got to gain experience doing it. But there's a threshold of, I actually want to be me full time. I want to actually pay
get
for
down.
my gift. Because what happens is, at first, like, so for example, in the 5 stages of Dharma, stage 1 is just the awareness of, I have a purpose. Most of humanity is not there yet, by the way. Most people don't believe they have a purpose. Most people feel their purpose is survival. But when you have whatever dark night of the soul caused you to think, wow, there is this soul inside of me that's beyond my personality, this part of me that's like connected to all, that's witnessing life, and there's an intelligence to everything I've overcome, and there must be some reason why I'm here. That brings you into stage. Then stage 2 is, how do I become my best self? Self-improvement, mindset, fitness, all of the personal development space is really around how do I become my best self? So a lot of us go through health journeys, right? We need to clean up our vessel. We learn how to take care of because if I have horrible digestive issues and I'm sick all the time, I can't live my purpose. I won't have the energy and the life force for it. So we go on these personal development journeys, but that's just stage 2. Most people stop there. Stage 3
Right.
is the spiritual awakening. Now, this is when you realize there's something that happens in your life, divorce, getting fired, health scare, losing a family member. You're like, maybe I'm not just a mind and a body to improve, but rather a soul to know. Maybe.
Ooh, say that one more time, please. That's so beautiful. Say that again, please.
Maybe I am not just a mind and a body to improve, but rather a soul to know. Maybe nothing was ever wrong with me. Maybe I didn't need to even improve myself. I just didn't know myself. And so instead of trying to hack my way into becoming my best self, which is again me fighting against, let me just get to know who this being is that's existing inside and around me. And that's when we start to get really curious. Who am I? What makes me come alive? What is my purpose? What is, my astrology, my human design, my past lives? There's so many systems out there of gnosis, to know thyself. So we go on this journey of deep contemplation, and there becomes a shift. When we're in stage 2, it's around, I need to acquire as much information as I can. Right? How do I get better? How do I improve? What's the research on that? We're listening to, the Andrew Hubermans and all the things, and that's very important, right? But when we go into stage 3, we kind of stop like listening to humans. We start listening to ourselves. Because we realize there's a deeper intelligence from within that only I can listen to when I'm silent enough. And you start to just go on walks, maybe listening to binaural beats, or maybe even better, the birds. Maybe just becoming aware of, why do I feel the need to always be listening to someone else? What am I afraid of hearing within myself? And so those deeper thoughts, those shadows, that thing that keeps coming to mind that you're like, oh shit, I need to go on Instagram. You start sitting with that thing. That's what shadow work is. To go
talk about shadow work. So important.
Yes. So I was so afraid of shadow work. I was so afraid of pain in my life because, like most of us, we want to live in joy and fun and suffering and not suffering, but all the good things, and we're afraid of the suffering. And what I realized is that when we can actually like open up the hood of the car of like, what am I afraid of feeling? And like go into it and follow the thread to the bottom of the barrel, get to that like baseline feeling. So for example, after my divorce, I would get these feelings of like loneliness, like this feeling of like, oh, I'm just so alone. And then the action I would take is go on Instagram, go on a dating app, go on something to make this feeling go away. So I would start to do shadow work of I would just sit on my yoga mat and lie down and really feel in my body, what is this loneliness that I'm feeling? And I would feel I'm just tired. I've been working so much. I just want to be held. And then I would go into, well, aren't I held by earth? Aren't I held by God? What does it feel like to just release my body into this yoga mat and trust that I'm being held by this earth that is holding me up? And I would go, and then through creating more safety in my body, I would have a deeper layer thought. And for me, when I went to the bottom of the barrel, it was like, if I am not in relationship, then I don't even deserve to live. And that was the deep bottom of the barrel thought through really asking myself, why do I feel the need to connect? It's like almost like I didn't even think I existed as a human if I was not in connection. And then I would ask myself, well, like, imagine if I lived on top of a mountain by myself and I never talked to anyone else again. Do I then not deserve to live? I'm like, well, of course I would deserve to live. But then why am I acting in this way? And it was because ancestrally, all of the women in my family had literally sacrificed their lives for men. That it actually was, if you were not married, you couldn't live. So that epigenetic memory was living inside of me, that if I am not in relationship, I will die. And so that was creating that top of the iceberg feeling of I'm lonely, but it wasn't actually loneliness. The shadow of it was I need to be in relationship to survive. And when we do shadow work, it's almost always comes back to survival. It's almost always, if I don't do this thing or I do this thing, I will die. And again, only when we get to the bottom of it through asking ourselves, why? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? That we realize that we're living our lives based on false beliefs, false narratives that on a deep level, we believe are true and then are making all these decisions in our lives and feeling this way. But it's never the surface level thing. It's always the bottom. So the shadows have taught me so much. They've gifted me everything. When we can really feel the depth of our pain, we're no longer afraid of it. And then we're no longer making decisions in our lives to run from pain, which is how most of the world is operating. We're like little ants. Oh God, there's something scary over here. Let me move away. Oh God, there's something scary. But when we can integrate, that serpentine energy, like why are we so afraid of the snake in the collective, right? The snake is the shadow. The snake is the underworld. And when you're aware of the shadow, it doesn't make it go away. Me not paying attention, me going, la, 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 shadows don't exist, it doesn't make it go away. Now it's just behind me and I can't see it. And then it's going to put me in that. Right. But when I start to look at that snake in the eye and I say, I'm not afraid of you, I see that you're just a call for love. I see that you're just a part of me. And then I learn to dance with the snake and I learn to become one with the snake. And then I start to shed my skin like the snake. And then there's this beautiful integration that happens. There's a certain way that people who have done shadow work walk through the world. It's almost like we recognize each other of this fearlessness, but this liberation. There's such a liberation that happens when you are genuinely not afraid to go to any corner of your consciousness. Because we all have little parts of our consciousness that are like, oh, don't go there. Oh, don't bring up the ex. Oh, don't bring up the relationship with the dad, because if I go there, I'm going to lose myself. So people are afraid of doing shadow work. And I know I felt this way of like, if I really felt the pain I'm feeling in my heart, I might cry for the rest of my life and never find my way to the other side of this. So let's not touch it. But when we don't touch it, it's like a trash bag that's sitting on the corner of our kitchen and it just starts to rot and ferment. And it's like, I'm going to smell so bad and seep into every area of your life until you take me out. And so you sometimes got to sift through it. And then when you start to look at it, you're like, this was just my desire to feel loved. And this was just this person's pain that was passed on to them through someone else that they didn't know how else to be. And you start to have such compassion. And, I remember after my ex-husband told me about his ongoing infidelity, he actually confessed it to me through sitting with plant medicine. And I was beyond shocked, but this deeper energy of Kuan Yin came through me. And Kuan Yin is the goddess of compassion. And of course, like on a logical level, I had every right to be angry. But my higher self knew, wow, you are witnessing someone speak their truth for the first time. And what a blessing, what a miracle that is to witness the deepest shadow that someone has been holding on to, a pattern he has been holding on to since his childhood as a way of coping with his trauma that he never felt even safe enough to tell me about that. What a miracle that in this moment, this shadow was able to come to life. And yes, the human part of me was wronged. But the highest self part of me knew our souls chose to do this dance together. Because it was only through that passing the torch of liberation that I was able to ask myself, well, if this is my mirror and I was a match, what are the shadows within me that I'm not looking at? Caused my greatest awakening yet. So I share this because, of course, I'm not saying force yourself to go into pain, but life is a ceremony. And life will show us. And it's that very reason why you think I can't live the life I want because of, that's the path. That's the way forward.
Boom. Wow. Okay. Holy cow. That's so beautiful. Thank you for that. Sorry. Let's talk about emancipation from other people's approval.
Tell
me your thoughts on that.
We are all basing our approval based on what we have been made to believe will keep us safe. So in our parents' time, they grew up in a time there was no internet. So what they rightfully have believed to make them safe is get a stable job, make sure you get pension, get the corner office, climb the corporate ladder, don't stand out, and stay consistent for as long as possible with the same thing, because that's going to lead to eternal safety. So of course, their advice is going to come from their scope of knowledge. And so what they approve of or disapprove of is going to be based on the actions they have taken in their own lives. Some people have the awareness of, wow, I could have played a little bit bigger, or wow, the world has shifted. But most people still today, I feel, don't want to feel like they could have done something differently. So they would rather think or pretend to think that they've done it right and this is the way and I know the way. And that's the thing. Age doesn't necessarily always mean wisdom, because the world is changing so much that they may have wisdom in certain areas of their life. But when it comes to other things like, how could we have known even 15 years ago about podcasting? It didn't even exist. So of course, when we're saying, I'm going to start a podcast and have deep conversations about spirituality and transformation and inner alchemy, people are going to be like, what are you smoking? You're delusional. You're crazy. So of course, they're going to disapprove of something that they don't understand. And on a deeper level, when I really sat with this and with the medicine, I realized that we're all like little children going through life, trying to get that pat on the head from the parent, from the person. You're doing it right. You're doing a good job. This is how things should be. And we're all going through life. Am I doing it right? Is this right? Is that right? Guess what, guys? No one knows. Seano doesn't know. I don't know. We don't freaking know. We don't know what we're doing right now, by the way. And when we realized this, I started to realize the most toxic word that I was telling myself every single day. Do you know what that word was? Can you guess?
Oh boy, I don't know. What is it?
Should.
Oh,
should
yeah.
I this? Should I that? Well, if I do this, should that? Should that? When I was sitting with ayahuasca, I had so many questions, but should that? And every time I said the word should, I would start to vomit. There was no other time in the ceremony I would want to vomit until the word should would come into my mind. And the medicine said, do you see what this word is doing to you? It's making you sick. And I realized that I was living my entire life thinking that there is a right or a wrong path. And if I just get it right, I'll be on the path of eternal safety and security and happiness till death do us part, But there is no should, because there is no right, there is no wrong. There's certain lessons that your soul needs that there's no avoiding. And I know that's hard to hear. But there's certain karmic things that it's like, you had to do that dance. You had to meet that person. That had to break your heart. It couldn't have gone another way. It was predestined. It was pre-written. It was an entanglement that both of you needed for your own way. And what the free will comes in is, how quickly do I transmute it? How quickly do I learn the lesson? Do I surrender into it and put my hands up like on a roller coaster and say, I'm in along for the ride, spirit lead me? Or do I try to hold on to the grips at the end and try to control the roller coaster as if that's going to make it stop?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, beautiful. Let me talk about divine feminine music, dance, how you put it together so beautifully. I love, sometimes I've sent your video out, some of your music videos. I said, this is what freedom looks like. This is it right here. This is what freedom looks like. Talk about that process, how you brought that out, because it's really beautiful. And I encourage all my viewers to listen to all her podcasts and her videos. Just talk about that, because it's so, actually, I think you're the best person in the world who's doing this right now, honestly.
You're so sweet, because I come from a country where dance and music is illegal. I'm not able to go back to my home country anymore because of this in Iran. Music is illegal, dance is illegal, expression is illegal. So what I have gone through against for my Dharma is literally never being able to go to my home country. I mean, insane, like fear from my family, who still to this day don't approve from it. But it's like your soul will put you in whatever. It's like, you're going to have these gifts and a desire for music and expression. You're going to be born in the country that's going to kill you for it. And that's the duality that our souls choose right there. So when you go through something really big in life, and I'm sure people listening can resonate. After my heartbreak, I was just broken wide open. And when I would listen to music, I would just hear it on a deeper level than I've ever heard it before. And I was like, damn, was music always like this? Like, do they always have these layers and these ad libs? Because when you're listening to music and you're busy, you're going through life, you're in your thoughts. But when you're like busted wide open like that, and there's like no thoughts, just feelings, you're experiencing life on such a deeper level. So I started to hear music on a deeper level. And through that, I started to coming up with melodies and top lines. I didn't even know I had this gift. I had never produced music in my entire life. And I started to just record myself on my phone, like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I started to get curious on YouTube, how to produce music. And I started looking up how to get samples of things and start just piecing it together. And I chose to become celibate, like to not engage with any person and use my sexual energy towards creative energy, which, by the way, our sacral chakra, which is our second energy center, is in charge of our sexuality, our sensuality, our creativity, our pleasure, our abundance. And so this is really the seat of the divine feminine. Now, most of us are using our sexual energy towards trying to seek, trying to, gain attention. But if we can actually recycle this energy and move it through our bodies, open up our hearts and open up our pineal gland, we become creative geniuses. Most of us are telling it. And especially in the collective right now, if sexual energy is the strongest energy that's created life, a lot of people are shooting their greatest life force towards pornography, right? Which I know shared your own experience of being forced into that world. And think about it, we're sharing our manifestation energy into this fake thing that it's often trafficked people against their will. And we're putting our most precious life force energy towards that matrix, which is why it is the fastest moving matrix in the world. It's like 80% of the internet. So imagine if we instead use that life force energy, when we feel that sexual energy, meditated on it, breathe into it, and brought it up our chakras, all of a sudden this creativity comes alive. So I started to produce music. And once I started producing music, I never thought I could sing or do anything on it. If you ask me what's the thing you're like really bad at in life, I would say singing for sure. Never had that gift. And then I made the song and I'm like looking like, okay, how do I find an artist to go on the song? And then there was an affirmation I just kept telling myself in my head when I was in this unknown. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know what was happening. And I would just tell myself in my head, trust, flow, surrender, let go. Trust, flow, surrender, let go. Trust, flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. And so I just recorded.
Whoa, that's so good. That's so fucking hot. I love it.
Afrobeat song, and I'm like, I've never heard of affirmation Afrobeats music, but let's just try this. And then I just put it out. Like, again, I think I just don't overthink things sometimes. I'm like, let me just like put it out and see what happens. And I'm like, okay, I guess I need a music video for it to put it out. So I like went in I was in Portugal by myself, and I just went on these WhatsApp groups. I found some videographers. She even speak English, and we just went out to the beach, and I was just listening to the song on my phone and like pretending to be in the music video. Again, never done this. Me and a random videographer. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be the music video now. Edited it myself. And then I just treated it like a music video launch, and I put it out, and people were like, wow, I really actually like this. And then I'm like, wow, people like it. Let me make another one. And then let me make another one. And then I start to just take these things that I would say to myself, like, because I also believe that dance is the most healing energy, when it's actually a really interesting story that you might like, but after the Rwandan genocide in the early 90s, the US government sent the top psychiatrists to work with the victims of the genocide. And after a couple of days, the village kicked them out. And the government was like, hey, why did you kick out these top psychiatrists we sent to help you overcome this? And they're like, no, sir, I think you sent the wrong people. And they're like, why so? And they're like, because in Rwanda, the way that we heal is we dance and we sing and we hold hands and we drum and we go under the stars and the sun. We don't sit alone in a dark room and keep talking about what happened. That will make us sick. So please send your people home. And it just shows this Western model of we think healing through trauma is just to keep analyzing it again and again and again. And look, there's a time and space for that. But at a certain point, you just need to be like, you know what? I'll never understand fully why that person did what they did. Because if I did, I would be like them. And I can have compassion for them. But I actually don't want to deeply understand, because then I will be going into that kind of consciousness. And it's not even about why they did what they did, but it's about how is this a springboard for me now to become the version of me I could have never been without this. And through using the healing and ancient ancestral gifts of music, dance, ritual, poetry, which is how our ancestors have healed through millennia, we raise our vibration. We're able to heal from a higher level perspective through me creating that music. I'm so grateful it helped other people. It was mostly for me, because when I would be crying in despair, wondering how my beloved husband could have been lying to me the entire time and in just such a dark place, and then I would like listen to the song that I made, I would be like, wow, I'm a bad bitch. I made that. Yes. I made that.
Straight up.
I don't care what he thinks. I love myself. And it would give me a little bit of confidence, a little bit more and a little bit more. And to do things that we're proud of is how we gain confidence. And so music, dance, healing, living our Dharma, this is how our souls were meant to express. And honestly, if you're in it right now, it's like, forget about how people are going to receive it. It's like, what do you really need right now? Like, make a song for you to just listen to. Write a poem for you to just read. And what I find happens is the right souls who need it too will find you.
Amen. Right on. 100%. Yeah. Well, you'll appreciate this, Art, because I've actually blessed to work with genocide survivors in Rwanda and children soldiers in northern Uganda. And when I was asked to go work with them, I was asking what was happening, and what you mentioned. And what really worked is when we danced with James Brown music. I feel good. That's what worked more than anything. Throwing the frisbee, throwing the football, not this bullshit trying to convert them to Christianity or anything else. It was music, because that's the get down. It was music and seeing my goofy ass dance. That's what put their smiles on, because they saw the vulnerability and they knew I was real. So I love you for that. Wow. Okay. What, I'm assuming in your practice and all the thousands of people that pass through, a lot of addiction. Do you see a lot of addiction? Okay. And tell me about some of your techniques that you've helped people overcome their addiction, get out of bad relationships, in that horrible dance. Fascinated with what you're doing out there.
There's a method in my embodiment certification called Triple E. So the Triple E method stands for emote, embody, and express. So the first is to feel that thing, feel the feeling. So for a lot of us, especially when we're going through a trauma, it's like when you first wake up, it's that feeling of like, oh shit, this is my reality. And it hits you almost like in 50 First Dates when you like rewatch the movie of your life and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life right now. And so for a lot of people, it's like first thing in the morning, whenever you're starting to feel that emotion, to let yourself feel it. Cry, punch a pillow, scream into the pillow, shake, whatever the thing is, we can't bypass that feeling because it will just start to manifest and find its way somewhere else. So feel it through. And, research has found that you can actually really only feel an emotion fully for 90 seconds. So most of us spend a lifetime trying to not feel a feeling. My dad was very angry growing up, and anything would trigger his anger because he never actually felt his anger. So the angriest are the ones who never actually felt their anger.
That's
and
right.
they become like that teapot that like any opportunity to feel a little bit of that anger, like any little bit of steam that can come out, they're like, there's opportunity there. Let me feel a little bit of it. Opportunity there. But if he actually fully like did a rage ritual and like let his inner child scream and emote, I think he's probably an overachiever. He'd have more than 90 seconds. Some of us can go a little bit more, but to really let yourself feel that anger in a safe container where it's not directed at anyone, but it's just a raw emotion that wants to be passed through. Because especially when it comes to anger, we're very afraid of this emotion because of the way that it can affect other people. But there is a righteous anger and a sacred anger. And that's that, like letting yourself feel that anger, but without blaming anyone else for it, making anyone else be the bystander of it. So men tend to default more towards anger. Women tend to default more towards sadness. Women tend to have a hard time feeling our anger because of the way that society has made us kind of like put away the angry woman. Like if you're an angry woman, no one wants to be around you. You're a bitch, you're the witch, you're discarded in our society. So from the time we were young, we kind of learned there's no space for my anger here. Whereas men, it was more accepted. They could channel into sports. Yeah, use that anger. They could fight. It was wild. Sadness was not so accepted for them. So for women, we often, instead of feeling anger, we break down and default into sadness. So a practice is to actually like try to feel your anger and not just crumble down. Try to really like hold that vibration more. So a practice that I actually did that was very helpful was there was a man who just embodied the masculine. And I was to say any anger I've ever felt towards any man in my entire life towards him. And he just listened and held that space without reacting. And at first it was like, I understand that you have gone through collective pain. And, I'm coming with my compassion. He's like, no, feel the anger. And it was so hard for me to do because, again, as women, we just naturally become so nurturing and empathetic and understanding. So to really go into that rage. And then he actually had me like push him as hard as I could. And he would push back. And I would have to push him more until I could really feel like almost like a NFL player, that like rage that needed to come through me from a lifetime of never feeling it. So that was a very powerful practice of the emote. For men, it's that sadness, it's that feminine that they have repressed. From the time you're a kid. Oh, don't cry. Don't be a little bitch. Are you a girl? Pick yourself back up. So to let yourself crumble, to let yourself feel it all. And, I find for men going often to coaches that are women, because sometimes with other men, they still feel this feeling of
Love that.
need to keep up the facade. And men's coaches are really great for like direction and counsel. But sometimes going to someone with that like motherly nurturing energy because what happens is sometimes men don't do it and then they bring it to their partner. And then the partner doesn't know what to do with it. And it can be almost like a bit depolarizing in a relationship because then the partner can take the mother role, which is not what your partner is for. So men need female healers as well to bring that energy, that safe, nurturing female energy. But I find most men, they don't seek help, right? And then when they finally do, they bring everything to their partner and then the partner doesn't know what to do with it. And then that triggers her unsafety and then creates this. And then the men are like, see, this is why I was never vulnerable with you. And then creates that
Got it. Yeah.
further fulfillment of that. So we all need counseling. It's often the integration of that thing that we have a hard time with. So embody. Now, embody is using your body to feel what it is you want to experience. So if I want to feel deeply held, can I play a song like an African drum song and feel myself deeply held by earth? If I want to feel loved, can I play a love song but sing it to myself and touch my body and face the way that I wish a lover would touch me? If I want to feel joy, can I play a song that makes me feel so joyful and jump around my room? And at first it feels like a stretch. You're like, I don't feel like this at all. Like, but the mind will follow what the body does. And I guarantee you by the end of the song, you will feel more that way. So even if it's just one song, I have playlists for different moods that I want to feel. So using your body to feel that way. So at first, be honest with yourself. If you don't feel that way, be honest with the part of you that feels small. But maybe that small part of you start to open up a little bit more, stretch out your arms a little bit more. And before you know it, you feel big, which was the intention you wanted to embody. And then from that place that you're embodying, that desire, that intention, express. Turn it into something greater than you, whether it's writing a poem or recording a voice memo or making a song or painting something. Like I always would have like just a watercolor on my table because something really easy and like pretty mess free. You could just have your little jar of water. I would just draw whatever it is that came to mind. That's the method that actually birthed my album. It was through feeling all those things that
Oh, I love that.
Another thing that kept coming to me was, maybe this love story is really about me. Because I find that when we go through a heartbreak, we're like, and this will all be done when I find the love of my life. This will all be worth it when I'm then in that relationship where I feel fully seen and met. So then the focus becomes about finding the better relationship. And then I realize after years, maybe it's not about the better relationship, but it's about the relationship with me. Maybe this love story is really about who I've become. And so through saying that to myself in my head again and again and again, it turned into a song. I traveled across oceans, rebirthed myself in seas, asked my ancestors for guidance, find myself on my knees, left what I knew as home, made friends with uncertainty, saw him as he was, let go of the fantasy. I could keep going, but those words
that is a fucking oh my God. That's so beautiful.
Turn into the song. And
that's so beautiful.
That song I did not want to, it was like a poem and I just put it over a drum beat and I didn't want to release it because it was literally the pages of what I wrote after this practice. But then I just felt like, we always make music to be like upbeat and, fun. And then I was like, the thing that actually made me want to write all of this was that feeling, that emotion. And so I just put it out. It's the last song on the album. And what's crazy is it ended up being like one of the biggest songs just because of the rawness and the realness of it. So emote, embody, and express. And this is the method I teach in my embodiment certification that you then can guide other people through.
That's beautiful. So listen, we just got a few minutes left. I'm just going to ask a couple quick questions. Who's been the most inspiring teacher for you?
I would say Earth. Looking at Earth, receiving her lessons. And the biggest lesson that Earth and plants have taught me is that there is a chapter and season to everything in life. And those times that you feel like despair or aloneness and you're like, am I going to be alone forever? Am I going to feel like this forever? I look at a flower and I'm like, nothing lasts forever. How cute of me to even think that. A rose, it has petals. And the beauty of a rose, like we can't get to the bottom. Sometimes we're just trying to get to the bottom of things. If I just know the answer, if I just find my purpose, if I just get the relationship, it's like tearing apart a rose to get to the bottom of it. But what makes the rose so beautiful is that petal by petal by petal by petal, it creates this beautiful sacred geometry. And it will unpetal, the lessons will unravel to you in perfect divine presence. Another thing that came to me, which I'm going to make into a song, is trust the path, let it all unfold, just release the control. Trust the path, let it all unfold, just release the control. And when I look at nature and I realize that like everything has its moment, everything has its cycle, everything has its stage, how could I ever think anything could last for forever when I too am a part of this? That has been the greatest humbling and universal. And then you think back on times of your life that you're like, wow, that was like, I lived in that home and I had these friends, I had this partner, and that was my life. That's what I knew life to be. And now none of that exists. And then you're like,
so true.
I wonder what other entirely new realities that I have not even could not even dream of yet are going to exist. And then you realize everything is a moment, everything is a chapter. And one day you're going to be romanticizing the chapter that you're in. You're going to be like, oh God, those broke days when I was so free. It was so amazing, you know? But right now, you're just in that part of your memoir.
Yeah, right
So
on. Okay.
knowing that everything will pass.
Final thoughts to everybody. What's dropping in for you?
Just to really be humbled, I would say, by nature. You know, I was in Dubai for a couple months before this, and of course, there's the beauty that humans can construct. We can make beautiful hotels and restaurants and skyscrapers and so many things, but the intelligence that Earth creates is unlike anything else. And I really feel we would find, I can't even say the solution because there's no solution. We would not even have those problems. We would not even perceive them as problems if we all spent more time in nature.
Well, special love to the Rev, Michael Beckwith from the Gapi. He brought us together. I'm so grateful you went up to Deepak and said, yo, brother, check me out, because that's why you're here. You are, you cracked my heart today. You really did. You're a really special human being. And you taught me a lot today, and you made me a better man. And I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you to all our listeners, because you are something else. You're a real force and a kind soul. And I just want to say thank you, and really grateful you made time for us today. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share part of my story. And for those of you listening, please share with me on social media if you listen to this, your takeaways. I'm always so curious to see the intelligence of life and how life puts like the exact people that need to hear the message and like what message it was. And I'm like, wow, we're really like vessels for this information. So send me an Instagram. I am Sahara Rose, and my website, IamSaharaRose.com. My school is called Highest Self Institute. If you'd like to get certified as a spiritual life coach, a Dharma soul purpose coach, or an embodiment coach as well. So you can find that at highestselfinstitute.com.
How about that? All right. Godspeed. Godspeed.
Deep gratitude to you for holding space and listening to this conversation. Thank you for choosing to spend your time diving deep. You know, a lot of people are unable to hold this level of duality of talking about some of the darkest corners of our consciousness and integrating it with the highest light that we are here to share and experience with other people. And that's really what your Dharma is. It's taking the obstacles that you've overcome and then mining the gems and sharing them with other people. So you got to see me sharing with Seano what I saw in him using the Dharma Blueprint, which is one of the many tools you're going to learn at Dharma Coaching Institute. So you see here, I just was able to pull it out of my pocket, and just from listening to him share his story, I was able to see his Dharma archetype, his medium, his superpowers, what's exciting for him, what comes through, and allow him to see himself in this context that he's never seen himself in before. And this is exactly what you will get to do as a Dharma coach. So you got to really stand out in a crowd of people who are just, you know, life coaches, you know, energy healers. It's all great, but can we take it to the next level and actually have systems and tools and processes that you can plug into anyone and help anyone understand what their Dharma is? And that is exactly what we teach you to do at the Dharma Coaching Institute. And it works with anyone. I have been dared to do this on complete strangers. And in 3 hours, they are fully in alignment with their soul's purpose. And that is the level of superpower that you will have as a result of this program. So whether you feel called to make a career out of this, which we teach you everything you need to know to create a 6-figure business, podcast, you know, if you want to speak on stages and write books, this is the best place to start as a one-on-one coach. Because myself, I was a one-on-one coach for over 7 years. That's how I'm able to go on a podcast and really dive deep with people. Or if you're just wanting to do this for your own healing, your own understanding, you're maybe at a crossroads going through a divorce, a breakup, a move, a health scare, and you're like, okay, this is my wake-up call to really wake up and ask myself what my soul's calling is. So imagine spending the next 6 months every single week live with me on the Q&A calls, plus our weekly modules, plus our peer coaching, plus our master coaching sessions. You get so much support and our incredible community. And this is just a little glimpse of what you get at the Dharma Coaching Institute. So we've got pre-recorded modules, live calls. You do one-on-one practice sessions every single week. So imagine spending 4 hours a week into understanding the truth of who you are. Because let's be real, I think the only time we asked ourselves, who am I and how can I integrate this into my career, was maybe the guidance counselor in high school who's like, oh, you like to talk? Be a lawyer. No, that's not the kind of talking I like to do. I like to dive deep into people's souls. I like to talk about healing. I like to talk about truth. And if you resonate with that, you are meant to be a Dharma, a soul purpose coach. So doors are open right now. I will be your guide. We have an incredible team. So if you have any questions, you can book a free one-on-one discovery call with Nata, our team member, as well as Coach Adriana, answer any of your questions. And we have all of the information on the website. So you can scroll on through. It's a lengthy website, but we wanted to make sure you got everything in there. So what's in the curriculum? What's included? How does it work? What kind of careers are possible for you? Who is it for? And there's also frequently asked questions on the bottom. And I also have my 3-part video series as well about how to create a career in alignment with your soul's calling. So I will be sharing that as well after the summit. So you can find that link below. I'm so excited to invite you in, and stay tuned for tomorrow for the next day of the Dharma Summit.
Trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes and listen. Surrender, let go. Surrender, let go. So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes.